And now for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning. Dr. Austin Mahou is joining us in the studio. Well, let me just remind you quickly that Dr. Mahou is a lecturer at the International Institute of Journalism and a member of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. Great to have you join us this morning, Dr. Mahou. But of course, we've gone through all that now. All right, then first first on the papers today. We'll be taking a look at what's in This Day newspaper. Money Master excites customers with more benefits. New minimum wage NLC directs workers in 14 states, the Federal Capital Territory, to commence strike. I think that's a very striking headline for today. I mean, the Nigeria Labour Congress on the warpath with the states that have not yet implemented the minimum wage and is directing its workers. Earlier this week, the Trade Union Congress did threaten to toe this line, the line of industrial action, if some of these states do not implement the new minimum wage. And ahead of that, the Nigeria Labour Congress has already taken the bull by the horns to direct its members to embark on industrial action in those states that are not yet implementing the new minimum wage. Dr. Mahou, what's your take on this militant line of action being adopted by the labor unions?
The NLC actually may not just have a choice in the matter, but to direct its workers accordingly, because it is expected that once the new minimum wage has been signed into law, all the national and the subnationals are supposed to, adhere to it. It's an agreement, and that agreement, before it was reached, I remember there was a federal government tripartite committee made up of the federal government, state governors, and the organized private sector, and they all agreed to it. They signed up to it. So why renege on that agreement at the end of the day if you know you are not going to implement it? It's an issue that we ought to have, put behind us by now in terms of implementation, and not coming back to it now and finding out that as patry, $117 a month, if you convert, the so-called 70 naira minimum wage, it's not more. When you relate it to the harsh economic realities that many Nigerians are suffering. So if some state governors, as these cases, are still not paying, what are you telling your workers? It's death sentence. You are telling them that what is not even enough, you can't pay. So what choice do they have other than to use strong arm tactics to get the states who are defaulting, to adhere to what they willingly, sign up to?
And more so, what is the message to citizens if their leaders are unable to follow the legal laws that have been set out for us? Because the National Minimum Wage Act has been amended to reflect 70,000 naira as the new minimum wage. And so I think that there should be a two-armed approach. While they are protesting, they should also take legal action so that we can actually see some results.
Well, also in the in This Day, we also saw that headline there back then about Tinubu and Macron sealing deals on infrastructure, food security. We had that robust discussion on that, but then let's revisit that from the point of view of the presidency. It was members of the private sector and some of the state governments, but this time around the bromance between Nigeria's President Emmanuel Macron and President Bola Tinubu.
No, it's a good thing. Like I try to highlight that, look, at times when you go into this agreement, the devil is usually in the details. So this is just news. The media will say we write history in a hurry, and, the details have to be worked out. You sign an agreement, but you have to come down and begin to work out the details and put in measures, timelines, to make it workable and implementable. So when expectedly those in the delegation of President Tinubu come back home, they should be able to work out the details and follow up on it and concretize whatever action that needs to be taken to make sure that the benefit of the visit, accrue to the nation and Nigerians in general.
All right, next on the lineup is the Punch newspapers, and also very interesting headlines from the Punch. Port Harcourt Refinery halts operation, loading bay empty. For goodness sake, wasn't it just yesterday we had that discussion on the positives from the Port Harcourt Refinery coming on stream and supplementing, or should I say complementing, what we are getting from Dangote Refinery in terms of the local production of PMS. And we were also hoping that this would also translate into real benefits for the Nigerian public, and that will be a crash in the price of oil. And all of a sudden, poop, and then our hopes seem to be evaporating into thin air. We're hearing a different music to that drum beat this time around, Dr. Maho.
You know, since the NNPCL announced, you know, the restreaming of Port Harcourt Refinery and the loading of PMS or refined product from the refinery, you know, it has faced a lot of controversy. You know, at a point, even as a public affairs analyst and as a watcher of the industry, I find it difficult to know what to believe. Was it all propaganda? Because even the Mr. President himself weighed in congratulating the NNPC for achieving a feat. And if you watch the clips from that we saw earlier on by the Minister of Finance while in France, you know, he was celebrating the fact that Nigeria has, you know, Nigeria has achieved a significant milestone in local refining of crude oil, you know, that it has not happened in the last 30 years, because I listened to him that this is the first time that is happening in about 30 years. You know, seeing this cover in the Punch is a big slap to all of us. It's a shock. Let it not be that what the NNPCL has been feeding us with in the last 1 week is all propaganda. I hope it's not true. But again, it's worrisome when it comes to the controversy surrounding, you know, the attempt for Nigeria to have a competitive. Dangote is working. You know, we ask, why is the state-owned refineries not working? You know, if they are working, it creates a competitive environment that leads to energy security and fair pricing of petroleum products, which all Nigerians hope for. But with this story, it is worrisome, and I hope NNPCL should be able to put a light to it.
It's definitely worrisome, but what do we think about the prioritization of propaganda as opposed to laying down the foundations for real results? And what could have happened within a few days to the Port Harcourt Refinery, Doctor?
Yeah, that is the confusion. You know, I'm just coming across this story for the first time, and I'm shocked that, and I want to believe that Punch, as a newspaper, a respected one for that matter, would have done its own homework before it ran this story on its front cover. But the days ahead, more revelations will come, and I hope the NNPC will be able to come out clean. What is really happening? You know, when you look at the amount of money the federal last administration, this administration have invested, you know, in that refinery, and of course, the emotional investment of Nigerians who had hoped that a competitive environment will be created that not only give us that gives us what I'll call energy security. We hope that hope is not dashed, and I don't know why a government should lie when the truth will do. Just tell us the truth. Even if there are problems, tell us the truth. Because in the media or in public relations, we say an informed audience is sympathetic, and uninformed audience is hostile. If the NNPCL is facing hostility over this issue, it's because the public feels that they are being lied to, and it creates room for trust deficit in government. By the time you say something else the next day, I won't believe you.
All right.
If an issue as big as this, you can lie about it. Let me not say it. Let me not say, but let's watch and see.
Well, definitely the truth will be staring us in the face. Some other very critical matters here on the front pages of our national dailies, and let's go to the Vanguard now, because very, very interesting story on the front pages of the Vanguard. And this was a matter that was being debated on the floor of the National Assembly, the Senate, and of course the House of Representatives. Tinubu's tax reform will destroy the North, Governor Zulum. Remember, it was senators from the north. We had Abdul Ningi, and of course the other senator walking out on the first day when this matter was discussed on the floor of the Senate. So it's as if, you know, this new tax policy apparently to the north is actually putting them on the back foot.
There are 4 bills, and the most controversial 4 bills looking at different areas of the tax regime in the country and attempt to reform them to make them in tandem with global best practices. And when you look at the argument of the chair of the Tax Reform Committee, Ayodele, you can't fault any of his argument. I listened to his presentation during plenary at the Senate. I think that was about 2 days ago. And his argument was fluid. He laid out the basis why we need to, you know, Nigeria need to go this route. However, the northern senators are only, the northern governors and some senators from the north are only picking on one issue, which is the VAT, value added tax, a consumption tax. That's where the controversy is. Whether it should be based, we should leave it the way it was before, or as it is now, it should be based on derivation.
Exactly.
If you look at it, derivation means consumption. It's a consumption tax. And the argument is, let's look at instead
what you contribute.
What you contribute depends on what you get.
Exactly.
That determines what you get. So I don't know why the northern governors, because the governors are the arrowhead of this agitation, what they are concerned about. All you need to do, if it is a consumption tax, create the economy within your space, you know, to be able to take advantage of VAT. In a situation whereby you destroy, for instance, bottles of alcohol with fanfare in your region, what are you saying? And you want somebody to drink alcohol somewhere else in Lagos or other parts of the country.
And then you get the benefit.
You get the benefit of it. So these are the issues. I think in a way, if you want to, we need to create an economy based on, you know, based on the benefit that accrue to the state and not based on religious sentiment. And I think it's reformative. Wherever there are controversies, I think we should look for a political solution to it, because like the senator you mentioned, they are digging in and they seem not to want to let go. And for, in that story, Governor Zulum to have said that, look, would destroy the North. I think he's taking it too far.
Absolutely. And I guess he's just towing the line of the senator from his state, talking about Senator Ali Ndume, who was really very, very passionate about that argument. Of course, he was supported by Senator Abdul Ningi. Well, thank you so very much, Dr. Austin Maho, for your contributions to the newspaper review for today. But that's all we have time for here on Daybreak. And so it's goodbye from me, Charles Eruka.
And me, Somi Maduagu.